ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतानः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, today we will be starting the 13th Adhyaya of Gita. In the last class we completed the last mantra of the last shloka of the 12th chapter, that is Bhakti Yoga, and we also had a brief review of the whole 12th chapter. And then now we will start the 13th Adhyaya. So we have been now and then talking about the overall structure of the Gita. So if you recall, I was just telling about the overall structure of the Gita. There are 18 chapters in the Gita, and these 18 chapters, they fall into a pattern, because all this is a message which is given by a very, very expert teacher like Lord Krishna. So when an expert teacher, and that too Bhagavan himself, gives a message, automatically, unconsciously, there is some pattern in that, isn't it? And the subject matter is, what is Jiva and what is Jagat, what is the ultimate reality. So that is the subject matter. So this has been told in the Upanishads in various Mahavakyas, Tat Tvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma, etc., etc. Some Mahavakyas have been told. So here, when Lord Krishna has started describing, telling about this Brahma Vidya to Arjuna, when Arjuna was standing in some sort of confusion about his own duty, Krishna gave a broader picture of what is Dharma, what exactly is the role of Jiva, what is the nature of Jiva. So all these things he told, and then gave a totally broad picture about what is Dharma and what Arjuna has to do. And in that process, he told about several things. He gave a broad picture, and he also showed Arjuna the limited picture. This is where you fit in. Because any teacher, he has to tell as to where the student fits in also. So he also very clearly told, you fit in at this slot called Karma Yoga. So he fixed him there. But still, you have to know what is the ultimate. So that is why he told about the nature of Brahma, that is the supreme reality. And then he told about some sadhanas, etc., etc. And in those sadhanas we have seen, and we have been, we have been talking about the structure of this Gita. That is, it is divided into three sections. The first 6 chapters, the next 7th to 12th is one group, and 13th to 18th is one group. So you take this Mahavakya. Mahavakya, one Mahavakya, that is Tat Tvam Asi. Let us take this Vakya, not the other Vakyas. So there, Tat is that supreme reality. Tvam is about the Jiva, who you are, what is your, then what is your nature, your essential Swarupa, what are your constituents. So that is your nature. Then Asi, then how exactly are you that? So it has also to explain how you are that. Simply by saying that you are that, the man does not, or simply by doing some dhyanam or meditation, I am that, I am that, I am that, I don't simply become I am, I don't become that. Unless I do it in a proper way, unless I do a proper viveka as contemplated in Shastra. Viveka, that is vichir, pruthak bhave, that is you have to distinguish. Prathak bhava, that is vichir prathak bhave, it is from that root. So that is, you have to do some viveka, you have to distinguish Atma from Anatma, you have to do the all such like removing the chaff from the grain, you have to do all that viveka. So when you do that only, it will come. You will realize that you are not what you think you are, but you are something else. So that equation also has to be told, Asi. So Tat, Tvam and Asi, these 3 points, these 3 things constitute one full sentence, isn't it? So these 3 words are explained in these 3 portions of the 3 parts of the Gita. That is what we discussed earlier. And the first 6 chapters, they talk about not Tat, though the Mahavakya first word is Tat, the first 6 chapters of the Gita, they talk about Tvam, that Tvam Padartha Vivechanam. So that is what we read. So what is Jiva? What are all the activities he does? Karma, Dhyana, Yoga, and all these things we talked about. So the whole nature of Jiva, predominantly, let us say, all those things were discussed. Though, of course, the Sankhya Yoga gives an overall picture of the Gita. So it gives an overall picture of the Gita. The whole argument which is there in the Gita, it is briefly contained there. And similarly, in the 18th chapter, it does a summary of the whole Gita. So, leaving these two, but predominantly, these first 6 chapters, they talk about the Tvam Padartha. Then the next 6 chapters, that is 7th to 12th, which we have completed in the last class, they talk about this Tat Padartha, that what is the nature of reality. So there, the reality at 2 levels we talked about, the higher degree of reality or the lower degree of reality, what was called Para Prakriti and what was called Apara Prakriti. So those things we discussed, and we also talked about what is called Nirguna Brahma, and we talked about Saguna Brahma, and we discussed various channels, that Upasana, etc. So that is why this Upasana Shatkam Dvitiyam Sampurnam, my book says, this end of the 12th chapter, at the end of the 12th chapter, this book has given a, last word, that It Upasana Shatkam Dvitiyam Sampurnam. So that Upasana Shatkam is over. So now we are starting this next group of 6. In this next group of 6, this equation, Tat Tvam Asi, how you are that, has to be explained. And if you want to become that, what you have to do, that also has to be told. Where you are and what you have to do to reach a higher level, that has to be told. So that is the purpose of this Tritiya Shatkam. So this is one point. Then this is about this last, what is the methodology, or what is the strategy of this Shatkam. So the methodology is to explain the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, in what manner you have to do Nididhyasana, what exactly you are and how you have to do Nididhyasana. For this, Anandagiri uses a word, Antima Shatke, Vakyartha Nishtha, Samyagdhi Pradhanaha, Adhuna Arabhyate. Samyagdhi Pradhanaha. So here you are taught about Nididhyasanam. What exactly, in what manner you have to meditate. Now meditation not in the sense of meditating on some mantra or something like that, reciting some name, Om Namah Shivaya, not like that. It is meditation in a proper way, in a Shastra, how Shastra prescribes. So that sort of meditation or that sort of Nididhyasanam is the emphasis here. So it is to ensure that you elevate yourself from that Jiva level to that Ishvara level. So this is what we see. And so in this chapter, the entire chapter deals with that only. It tells about what we saw, say as Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. We see in different names here. So the whole Adhyaya it deals with this Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Then say the 14th Adhyaya, if you go to 14th Adhyaya again, it talks about the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. There again, what is that Gunatraya? Gunatraya is Apara Prakriti only. Again, that Apara Prakriti is explained, how you have to overcome that Gunatraya. So that strategy is told. Then if you come to 15th Adhyaya, it is called Purushottama Prapti Yoga. So in that Purushottama Prapti Yoga again, it talks about how you have to develop Vairagya. The very first shloka, it is somewhat like the shloka which we read in Kathopanishad. We read that shloka about that inverted tree. The tree where the roots are upwards and the branches and all these things are downwards. Urdhvamulo avakshakaha yeshoshvatta sanatanaha. We read there. So here again we read a very, very similar shloka. Urdhvamulam avadhashakham ashvattham prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda savedavit. So that sort of, it starts like that in order to generate vairagya towards this samsara. So that 15th Adhyaya, it moves like that. Then 16th Adhyaya, it again talks about what is this Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. Daivasura Sampat Vibhaga Yoga. What is this Daivi Sampat and what is Asuri Sampat? What sort of characteristics you have to have in order to move upwards? And Asuri Sampat, that demonic acquisitions, not necessarily wealth. Sampat does not necessarily not necessarily mean wealth, but various other things, various other characteristics, various other personality traits. So all these things are Sampat only. If you are a virtuous man, that virtuous nature again is a Sampat. So that is a Daivi Sampat. So some other sinful nature, that is the Asuri Sampat. So Sampat does not necessarily mean something in terms of cash and money. So this Daivas, what is Daivi Sampat and what is Asuri Sampat, and what sort of characteristics a seeker should have in order to promote himself to a higher status. So that is told in the 16th chapter. Again in the 17th chapter, it talks about Shraddha. Faith, not exactly faith. Shraddha not necessarily means faith. It is a question of trust, commitment and devotion all put together. Trust, commitment and devotion all put together becomes Shraddha. It is not some blind faith in something. So Shraddha Traya, these three types of Shraddha. So Sattvika Shraddha, Rajasa Shraddha and Tamasa Shraddha, they are talked about in that. Then again, 18th chapter again, it summarizes the whole text of Gita. So that is how this the last 6 chapters are structured, starting from 13th chapter to 18th chapter. That is how these things are structured, and we will now get into this. We will now see what exactly the subject matter of this 13th chapter. So this 13th chapter starts with that Viveka, or discrimination about what is Atma and what is Anatma. So the chapter, if we just want to have an overview of this chapter, the name as we see is Kshetra Kshetrajna Yoga. Kshetra means a field. Kshetrajna, one who knows the field, one who understands the field, one who realizes what it is, one who realizes what its real nature is. So that man is the Kshetrajna. So when we just listen to the word Kshetra, you immediately you get a picture of some field, isn't it? Kshetra, the very metaphor means you imagine a field, and then in that field you try to sow some seeds. If you want to put mango tree, it will give a mango fruit. You want to put some neem tree, it will give a neem seed. Or if you want to put some poisonous fruit, seed, it will give a poisonous fruit. So whatever you put there, it will yield that type of harvest. So that is what is the peculiarity or nature of a kshetram. So the kshetram is something that is figurative of something which will give a result according to your action. So that is what is kshetram. So then the kshetrajna, who is the kshetrajna? Somebody who is understanding this. So that means Kshetram is something which is, when you say something is a kshetram or a field, it means that it is not you, isn't it? Kshetram is certainly not you. Kshetram is yours. You are somebody who is an observer of that. So this human body is so peculiar that Chaitanyam is very much part of it. Chaitanyam is very much there. Because it is Chaitanya Abhasa, it is actually enabling this whole body-mind complex to function. Otherwise, the body cannot function on its own, the mind cannot function on its own, the prana shakti cannot function on its own unless this Chaitanyam is there. But then, this Chaitanya, her consciousness is so mixed up, so intricately mixed up with this body-mind complex that it sees itself as the body-mind complex. The Chaitanya, instead of realizing its real nature as Chaitanyam, it is so mixed up with this body-mind complex that it thinks itself as the body, thinks itself as the mind, thinks itself as the Antahkarana, and all these Antahkarana dharmas, the characteristics of the Antahkarana, like happiness, unhappiness, Sukha, Dukkha, Hrir, Dhir, Bhi, all these characteristics, it thinks, oh, these are all mine. So it unfortunately it is confused about its own identity. And the reason is that adhyasa, ignorance, that itaretara adhyasa, that is due to ignorance, and that ignorance, how to come out of that ignorance, so that is the matter here. So kshetrajna is somebody who can distance himself, who can know that this body, when I say that idam, we saw this word idam in where? Kenopanishad also. Nedam yadidam upasate, that is in the context of Brahman. In the context of Brahman, not this which can be conceptualized, not this which can be objectified. Whatever is objectified is martyam, alpam. Whatever is idam, that is martyam, that is alpam, that is what Shankaracharya said there. So something similar has to be applied here. The same thing can be applied here also. Whatever is idam is something which is an object, which is something which is not you, it is not your real nature. So that is how this is a big exercise of nididhyasana. This whole thing is a very big exercise in nididhyasana. Unless you do this anusandhana, brahma anusandhana, you have to do this shastra adhyayana in a proper way. Shravana, manana, etc. It has to be done in a proper way. And then that nididhyasana has to be continuously done. Only then a person will be, and also coupled with that, you should also have a pure mind. All these things are prerequisites. Merely the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana will not give. A person in whose mind there are still a vast amount of raga dvesha, a vast amount of prejudices, vast amount of vasanas, when all these things are there, you just cannot do any Nididhyasana. If your mind is still thinking about your, suppose if my mind is still thinking about what I did some 10 years ago, all my achievements or failures, whatever it is, all those things, if I am thinking about them, I will not be able to do any nididhyasana. So I have to get out of that. I have to forget all those vasanas. I have to eradicate, erase all those vasanas and then do nididhyasana if I have to understand what is my real nature. So that applies to anybody. A seeker has to give up all these vasanas. Then he has to do this Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. And in that nididhyasana only he will be able to distance himself from this body-mind complex. So somebody who can distinguish himself or separate himself from that, he is called kshetrajna. So who is this kshetrajna? What is the real nature of this kshetrajna? If you see, then say here, of course, I took the help of one very good book. In the last class also I brought that book, I showed it to you. That is Gita Shastrartha Viveka by Sachidanandendra Saraswati. I told about one Swamiji from Karnataka, a very renowned Swamiji, who has written with great clarity this Gita Shastrartha Viveka. So he says, who is this Kshetrajna? He has a discussion, there is a brief discussion about what is Kshetrajna and what is Kshetra, etc. So Kshetrajna is in this Vyavahara Dasha. Vyavahara Dasha, he is this Antahkarana Avachinna Chaitanya. One who is Antahkarana, having Antahkarana not only Avachinna but Antahkarana Tadatmya. One who has identified himself with this Antahkarana. So the Jiva who is associated with that ignorance, he is at the Vyavaharika level. But Paramarthika level, at Paramartha Dasha or Paramarthika level, he is the Brahman itself. So this Kshetrajna is Jiva at a Vyavaharika level and Kshetrajna is Brahma at the Paramartha level. So this is the one fundamental thing which we have to note. Otherwise you will be confused what is Kshetra and what is Kshetrajna. We will have to get back to that old story of Ramayana. A person heard the whole Ramayana and at the end he had a doubt what is Rama to what is Rama's relationship with Sita. So after listening to the whole Kshetradhyaya, we should not have any doubt. So you may note down, Kshetra is something which is objectified. Kshetram, the very word idam shariram, when we say idam, whatever you designate as this or it is something which is objectified. Then Kshetrajna is somebody who is able to distance himself, who is able to pull himself out of that body-mind complex and sees himself as that Chaitanya Swarupa. So Kshetrajna at the Vyavahara Dasha is a Jiva who is identifying himself with that Antahkarana, Tadatmyam, Antahkarana. And then at the Paramartha Dasha, he is the Brahman itself, he is the pure consciousness. So that is what we will see here in this chapter. Then If you see the just overall overview of this chapter, there are 34 verses here, 34 shlokas, so it is not a very big chapter. But then of course, for the second shloka, Shankaracharya has written probably the longest possible bhashyam. So he has raised and discussed several questions there. So of course that we will go through. We require a lot of patience to read that. We will go through that. So in this chapter, there are these 34 verses can be divided into 5 groups. For example, shloka 1 to 6, they give an explanation of what is Kshetram and what is Kshetrajna, what is the meaning. Kshetram does not mean only the human body. You see, the human body is made of what? The human body again is a karyam. And what is the karanam? Karanam is that prakriti. Prakriti is starting with that avyakta. So right from that avyakta and then that vyakta prakriti and then this trigunatmika prakriti and then all that pancha mahabhutas and then this pancha tanmatras and then mahabhutas and then this antakarana, buddhi, etc., which have all derived from there. And then all our 5 senses, the 5 senses are derived from this 5 pancha tanmatras, the sattvika aspect of the 5 elements, isn't it? You remember, I hope you remember all that. And then the mind is derived from the collective sattvikamsha of all the 5 bhutas. So all this we remember. So when we say Kshetram, it is not only the human body which is the Kshetram. Of course, the very first shloka says idam shariram kaunteya kshetram. The very first shloka of this chapter is going to say this human body is a kshetram. It is emphasized. It is only for the sake of emphasis it is told. For the sake of emphasis, because first of all you have to understand that this body is not you. So in order to see that you understand this, the first thing to be understood, in order to have vairagya. In order to have vairagya, you have to understand the real nature of a thing, isn't it? So that is why, for emphasis sake, it is told like this. But really speaking, Kshetram includes all other things. That is Mahabhutani, Ahankara, Buddhi, Avyakta, all those things. They all belong to this thing called Kshetram. Why? Because all those things can be objectified. All those things, they are all Pramana Gochara, except Avyakta. Avyakta, of course, is not Pramana Gocharam. But all the, right from this level of Trigunatmika, they are all known, they are all vyakta. So that is why all these things which can be objectified, they are all kshetram. Body is not different from macrocosm. This microcosm is not different from macrocosm. So when you call this as a kshetram, that also becomes a kshetram. So that we have to remember. Kshetram does not mean body alone, it means the whole prakriti. So that also you can note down. So this chapter, this verses 1 to 6, they explain what exactly is this Kshetram, what is Kshetrajna, etc. Then the 7th to 11, they talk about what is Jnanam. What is Jnanam? Jnana sadhana upakaranani. That is, what are all these characteristics, what are for, realizing this Jnanam. Then slokas 12 to 18, they talk about the Jnaya. They talk about this Brahma, what is this supreme Jnayam. Jnayam means something which has to be known, something which has to be realized, understood, not an object. Jnayam can give 2 meanings depending on the context. Jnaya also means an object. This pen becomes a Jnayam for my Jnanam. So, but here, of course, here when I talk about Jnaya, we are talking about that supreme reality which has to be realized. So, verses 12 to 18, they talk about that thing to be realized. Then 19 to 22nd, they again talk about Prakriti and Purusha. Prakriti and Purusha are again 2 words for the same Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So here we are seeing different terms. We are seeing different terms in this Adhyaya. For example, these words Kshetra and Kshetrajna, probably we are listening for the first time. We have not come across these words earlier. Either in the Bhashyam, maybe in the Bhashyam that may be there, but in the text, these words Kshetram and Kshetrajna have not come, isn't it? So Kshetram is something which is an objectifiable thing, and Kshetrajna is somebody who is of the nature of intelligence. So similarly, this Prakriti and Purusha which are talked about in verses 19 to 22nd, Prakriti is something which is objectified. Purusha is something which is the knower or Kshetrajna or the intelligence principle. So that is how it is. Then the last verses, that is starting from 23 to 34, they talk about this sadhana, nididhyasanam, jnana, nishtha. So that is how the paragraph is structured. And at the end of this chapter, if we closely examine these words which are used, Kshetram is the same as Prakriti. You can note down, Kshetram is equal to Prakriti. You can note down, Kshetram is equal to Prakriti. It is equal to Apara. Apara, we know, Apara Prakriti, Para Prakriti, which we saw in 7th chapter. And it is also called Drushyam. It is this equals Vishaya. Vishaya means an object. And equals Anatma, equals Jadam. So all these things you can note down. Kshetram is equal to Prakriti, is equal to Apara, is equal to Vishaya, is equal to Drushyam, is equal to Anatma, is equal to Jadam. All these things are one and the same. So when we come across these words in several places, we have to immediately identify what it is. Then Kshetrajna, it is the intelligence principle, isn't it? Kshetrajna is equal to Purusha as against Prakriti. Then Purusha is equal to Para as against that Apara. And then Para, after that, it is Vishayi. Druk, it is Druk. Then later it is Vishayi. Then it is the same as Atma as against Anatma. Then it is Chetanam as against Jadam. That is sentient as against the insentient. So this is how we have to understand this whole words. And then in between there is a shloka which says, this samsara, what is this samsara? This samsara is due to itaretara kshetra kshetragnayo sanyogaha. So that is somewhere then 24th shloka, kshetra kshetragna sanyogaha. So this kshetra kshetragna sanyoga, samyoga means not exactly mixing up, itaretara adhyasa, that is superimposition of qualities of characteristics of one on the other, is that sanyoga, not literal sanyoga but mere superimposition. So this superimposition is the cause for this samsara. So that is how this whole thing is structured, and I think we will go to the text. There is a small avatarika for the first shloka. Let us read the avatarika. Saptame adhyaye सूचिते द्वे प्रकृति ईश्वरस्य त्रिगुणात्मिका अष्टधा भिन्ना अपरा संसार हेतुत्वात् परा च अन्या जीवभूता क्षेत्रज्ञलक्षणा ईश्वरात्मिका याभ्यां प्रकृतिभ्यां ईश्वरः जगदुत्पत्ति स्थिति लय हेतुत्वं प्रतिपद्यते. Okay, so here we are referring to the 7th chapter, Saptame Adhyaye Suchite Dve Prakriti Ishwarasya. So we saw the two Prakritis, that is what is called Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. Para is sentient, Apara is insentient. Para relates to Kshetrajna, Apara relates to Kshetra. So there Para again means Sat Chidananda Lakshanaha. Then here this thing is Maya Lakshanaha. One is Sachidananda Lakshanaha, one is Maya Lakshanaha. So these two Prakritis of Ishvara. Ishvara, we are not talking about this say Maya Vachana Chaitanyam, we are talking about the Supreme Brahman. So there are two Prakritis which are told here. Sachidananda Lakshana, when we say Sachidananda, you are referring to Brahma and not to Ishvara. Then Trigunatmika Ashtadha Bhinna. So Trigunatmika, these things we need not again explain. That is Sattva, Rajas, Tamo, Guna, how these things they are the constituents of that Maya. Then Ashtadha Bhinna. Ashtadha means eightfold, in 8 ways. Ashta, Ashtadha, Navadha, Shatadha, Panchadha. So when this dha pratyaya means so many times it indicates Ashtadha Bhinna. So many times it looks divided. What are that? We saw that shloka Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayuhu Kammano Buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yam me bhinna prakriti rashtadha, isn't it? Where is this Jnana Vijnana Yogam? Yeah. Bhumirapo vanalo vayuhu khammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yam me bhinna prakriti rashtadha. So Bhumi, that is all these five say bhutas, five elements: earth, water, fire, air and space. Then kham of course space, manaha buddhi, mind and intellect. Then ahankara, this concept, this I, this notion I, that is what is ahankara. Iti yam me bhinna prakriti rashtadha. When we talk about kshetrajna, in that kshetrajna, who is the person initially who thinks that he is the owner of that? It is the ahankara. At the ahankara level only, the person thinks, I am this body-mind complex. But he is not the knower of that kshetra. He is only operating the kshetra. He is not the knower. The real knower, or in the real sense, the knower is the kshetrajna who will be able to distance himself. So anyway, here coming back to this, Ashtada Bhinna is this eightfold nature. That is why Shiva is also called Ashtamurtihi. So all these things are say figurative or metaphorical. So Ashtada Bhinna, then Apara Samsara Hetutvat. All these things are the Karanam for this Samsara Hetutvat. Then Paracha Anya Jiva Bhuta. Para is the superior, the higher level of reality, that is the Jiva Bhuta, that is the sentient principle. Jiva Bhuta means that which is characterized as, that which is known as Jiva or the sentient. Then Kshetrajna Lakshana, Ishwaratmika. So in the very first sentence, Shankaracharya has given an equation. Para is the same as Jiva. If you see the sentence, the very first sentence means Para is the same as Jiva, is the same as Kshetrajna. It is also Ishwaratmika, means of the nature of pure consciousness. You are thinking that you are some body-mind complex. You are of the nature of pure consciousness. So the very first sentence, if you note down, it means Para is the same as Jiva. It is equal to Kshetrajna. It is equal to Ishvara. The very first sentence he is saying like that. Then Yabhyam Prakrutibhyam Ishvaraha. With these prakritis, with these two prakritis, because of the manifestation of these two prakritis, it is not as though they are really there. Yabhyam, these two, because of these two manifestations, Ishvaraha Jagat Utpatti Sthiti Laya Hetutvam Pratipadyate. So he is called Ishvara, he is called the creator, he is called the sustainer, he is called the person in charge of dissolution. All these cosmic functions we are attributing to Ishvara only because of the manifestation of these two prakritis. So, Yabhyam Prakrutibhyam, that is by virtue of which, by virtue of these two prakritis, Ishvaraha Jagad Utpatti Hetu, Sthiti Hetu, Laya Hetu. That is, he is the cause for this Utpatti, that is creation. He is the cause for sustenance. He is the cause for dissolution. So that is how he is getting those names. Hetutvam Pratipadyate. He is attaining. Pratipadyate means he attains. Pratipadyate means he attains that particular status as the creator, as the sustainer, as the dissolver, by virtue of these two prakritis which manifest in him. Then Tatra Kshetra Kshetrajna Lakshana Prakriti Dvaya Nirupana Dvarena Tadvatah Ishwarasya Tattva Nirdharanartham Kshetradhyayaha Arabhyate. So here, Tatra, so in that context, Kshetra Kshetrajna Lakshana Prakriti Dvaya Nirupana. So this Prakriti Dvayam, which is called Apara Prakriti and Para Prakriti, which is the same as Kshetra Kshetrajna Lakshana. In other words, you can call it Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Apara Prakriti is Kshetram, Para Prakriti is Kshetrajna. So Tadvatah Ishwarasya. Tadvatah means Ishvara who is Tadvan. Tadvan, he is the owner, he is the man under whose control they are there. So he is the boss of both of them. Tadvan, Dhanavan, Gunavan, something similar. Tadvan means Kshetra Dvayavan. Tat means Kshetra Dvayam, isn't it? Not Kshetra Dvaya, Prakriti Dvaya. That Prakriti Dvayavan, the Shashti Tatpurusha, Shashti Vibhakti for Tadvan is Tadvatah. Tadvataha para Ishwarasya. The two that Ishvara, who is the boss of these two, who is the controller of these two, in whom these two are manifesting. For that, Tattva Nirdharanartham. Whose Tattva Nirdharana? Ishvara se Tattva Nirdharana. In order to ascertain the real nature of that, in order to understand the real nature of Ishvara, this particular Adhyaya is being commenced. Arabhyate. It is being commenced. Is it clear so far? Because the language here sometimes as we go into the second shloka, the language becomes slightly more complicated. We have to be slowly and carefully read that. Then Atitanantaradhyaye cha Atita Anantaradhyaye Adveshta Sarvabhutanam Ityadina Yavad Adhyaya Parisamaptihi Tavat Tattvajnaninam Sannyasinam Nishtha Yatha te vartante ityetaduktam Kena punaha te tattvajnanena yuktaha Yathokta dharmacharanat Bhagavatah priya bhavanti ityevam arthascha Ayam adhyayah arabhyate. So he is telling the purpose for which this adhyaya is being commenced. The purpose for which this chapter is being commenced. What is that? In the immediately preceding chapter, Atita Anantara. Atita means past. Anantara means immediately behind. Anantara, not much, no gap. Atita Anantara adhyaya means immediately preceding chapter, that is the 12th chapter. There we saw this Jnani Lakshana, the characteristics of a Jnani, Adveshta, Sarvabhutana, Maitra, Karuna, Yevaja, Nirmamo, Nirahankara, etc., etc. We read all those things. So, Adveshta, Sarvabhutana, Ityadina, starting with that, Yavad Adhyaya Parisamaptihi, till the end of that chapter, Tattvajnaninam Sannyasinam Nishtha. So, how a Tattvajnani stays? What is his Nishtha? What is his frame of mind? All that has been described. Yatha te vartante, how they function, how they behave in the world. So all that thing has been told. Then, kena tattvajnanena yuktaha priya bhavanti. So what type of tattvajnanam is that? So that has to be explained. What type of tattvajnanam is giving that, all those characteristics? Adveshta sarvabhutanam, they can be cultivated by the seeker also, but then he has not attained that jnanam. So a jnanam gives rise to certain characteristics or personality traits, let us say, and those personality traits are consciously cultivated by the seeker also, so that automatically does not give him jnanam. Seeker, he has to cultivate these things, and simultaneously he should be doing Shravana Manana Nididhyasa. That should not be forgotten, because all through Bhakti Yoga, Shankaracharya was repeatedly pointing out whenever that Bhakti was mentioned, along with that Bhakti, you have to have this Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Simply because you consciously cultivate the habit of Adveshta, Maitraha, Karunaha, etc., etc., you will not become a Jnani. You will definitely become a better human being, but certainly not this Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati level. So for this, you have to have this Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. So this Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, they give a particular, type of personality. They give, in modern words, it gives rise to, or it leads to a particular type of personality. So that particular personality was described in that 12th chapter. So how that personality has come into effect? What is that philosophy which has given rise to that personality? Okay, this is a better way. What is that philosophy and what is that understanding which has given rise to that personality? That has to be understood. So in order to explain that, this particular chapter is being commenced. Is it clear? Kena punaha tattvajnanena yuktaha. By which philosophy, imbued by which philosophy, let us say. Imbued by which philosophy? So all those people, yathokta dharmacharanat bhagavatah priya bhavanti. All that ethical, principles which were described in, this chapter 12, they become natural characteristics of a jnani. So this philosophy is giving rise to a particular character, a personality, say type, isn't it? So what is this philosophy? That has to be understood. What is that Tattva Jnanam? What is that Tattva Jnanam means the nature of what is the supreme, the nature of what you are and what is the supreme. So that has to be understood. So for that, this adhyaya arabhyate. Then prakrutischa trigunatmika sarva karya karana vishayakarena parinata पुरुषस्य भोग अपवर्गार्थ कर्तव्यतया देहेन्द्रियाद्याकारेण संहन्यते यो सोऽयं संघाता इदं शरीरं तदेतद् भगवान् उवाच. So he is telling about the Prakriti. So just now I was saying the human body alone is not the Kshetram. The microcosm is the same as macrocosm. So that is what he is saying. Prakrutischa trigunatmika. This Prakriti which is having these three constituents, this Sattva, Rajas, Tamoguna, and from this Sarva Karya Karana Vishaya Karena Parinata. So Prakriti is the thing which is undergoing this Parinama. We know the word Parinama. Parinama means a change, something like a chemical change. The milk becoming curd is a Parinama. The rope appearing as a snake is not Parinama, it is called Vivarta. So Brahma Parinama, we should not say it is Brahma Vivarta. Prakriti Parinama, Prakriti Parinamate, Brahma Vivartate. So that is the point. So here we are talking about Parinama. So that is why he says Parinata, Prakritihi Parinata means Parinamam Upagata. That is Parinata. Parinamam Prapta, let us say. So Prakrutischa Trigunatmika Sarva Karya Karana Vishaya Karena. In the shape of all these Karya Karana. Karya Karana Sanghata. Karya is body. Karana is senses, all the sense organs, that is, all the sense organs are called Karana. Karana means a tool, an instrument. An instrument for what? An instrument for perception. All these instruments for understanding. So all these instruments for knowing, for cognizing things. So Sarva Karya Karana Vishaya Karena Parina, and also Vishaya Karena, Karya Karana, Vishaya, and also objects. Vishaya is the thing which is known by these Karanas. So that is it. Karya Karana Vishaya Karena Parinata. Then why is it so? Purushasya Bhoga Apavargartha Kartavyataya. So Purushasya, the whole creation is said to be because of the, the karma of the human beings. And then Purushasya Bhoga Apavargartha. It is the human body is let us say the vehicle, both for Bhoga, that is enjoyment, and also for Apavarga. Enjoyment means not only enjoying not happiness, including unhappiness also. Bhoga, bhujyate iti bhogaha. Bhoga does not necessarily mean enjoyment, that is experiencing. Experiencing both good and bad. That is what is called bhoga. So bhogayatanam shariram, the karma, what is this? The logicians, they define the human body, Tarka Sangraha, if you read, Bhoga Ayatanam Shariram, there is a definition for Shariram. That is Bhogasya Ayatanam. That is, this is the place for experiencing the good or bad. So Bhoga, for experiencing good or bad, again depending on whatever is your karma. So Bhoga and also Apavarga, it is also the tool, it is also the instrument in order to attain moksha. Apavarga is moksha, isn't it? Swarga, Apavarga, you must have heard about these two words. Swarga is heaven, Apavarga is, it is the moksha. So Purushasya Bhoga Apavargartha Kartavyataya. It is for Bhoga and it is also Karma Bhumi. We know this word Karma Bhumi. Karma Bhumi is, this is the place where you do all your endeavors in order to raise yourself from this level to a higher level. So that is what is Karma Bhumi. This endeavor for moksha in this birth only and not in an animal birth or in some other divine birth. So this is the place for karma, this is the Karma Bhumi. So Bhoga Apavargartha Kartavyataya. Kartavyata means it has to be done, it has to be performed. That is, Bhoga also is a Kartavyata here, Apavarga also is a Kartavyata here. So for that, Dehendriyadyakareena samhanyate. So samhanyate means it gets formed. It gets formed into a sort of conglomerate. It gets formed into a sort of assemblage. Let us say Sanghata. Sanghata is an assemblage, isn't it? Samhanyate is, it gets into an it becomes an assemblage, is samhanyate. Sanghata, we have come across this word in Kenopanishad also, Karyakarana, Sanghata, samhanyate. So this Deha Indriyadyakareena. So in the shape of this human body, the human body is from the Tamasa aspect of the Panchabhutas. Indriyas are from the Sattvic aspect of the Panchabhutas. So like that. So Dehendriyadyakareena parinamate. So it becomes, it modifies, or rather it undergoes change in that particular fashion. Samhanyate soyam sanghataha. That sangha, thus this particular sanghata, saha ayam, becomes soyam. That this means that thing which has transformed into this. That is that prakriti which has transformed into this. So that is what is called soyam, saha ayam. That this soyam sanghataha idam shariram. This particular body, this particular say human body, or not only human body, any body, starting from an ant. We are talk about ant also. So idam shariram tad etad bhagavan vacha. Bhagavan is now telling about that body. So let us read this shloka, the first shloka. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramityabhidhiyate etadyo vetti tam prahuhu kshetrajna iti tadvidah. So let us see the shloka. Initially we should have said Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. Okay, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha idam shariram kaunteya kshetramityabhidhiyate etadyo vetti tam prahu kshetrajna iti tadvidah. Okay. Then idam shariram. See the shloka. This body, idam, when you when you say this means it is something which is objectifiable. You can note down also, idam is something which means it is something which is nameable, which is objectifiable, which is separable from you. Idam shariram. Shariram, the meanings of course they are, let me see whether they are given in the Bhashyam. Yeah, shariram, yes, some are given. Shariram, we know the meaning of shariram. Shiryate iti shariraha. Shiryate, that is something which disintegrates. Shiryate. Shirigipodam, what we call in Telugu shiri, that is shiryate. That is, it gets torn apart. So it disintegrates, it gets torn apart. That is what is sharira. Shiryate. That this shariram, he Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, O Arjuna, kshetram iti abhidhiyate. Kshetram, we had explained the word kshetra, field. Metaphorically, it is something which produces it gives an yield to you depending on what you sow in that. Then iti, kshetram iti means like that, in that manner. Abhidhiyate, it is told or it is called, it is named. You know the word abhidhanam. Abhidhanam means, abhidhanam is name. Abhidhiyate means it is named so. Abhidhanam is name. Krishnabhidhanaha, Ramabhidhanaha. I am called Saha Ramabhidhanaha. So he is named or he is called Rama. Saha Krishnabhidhanaha. So he is named Krishna. So like that. Abhidhanam is name. Then Abhidhiyate Yetad Yo Vetti. This particular Kshetram, Yaha Vetti, the one who knows. Yaha Yetad Vetti, the one who knows this, who realizes its real nature. Vetti means not as a body. I am so and so, say I am having such a handsome body, I am so and so, my muscles are so great. Not like that. The reality of this body, body-mind complex, one who understands the reality of this body-mind complex, he is called Tam Prahuhu Kshetrajna iti Tadvidaha. Tadvidaha means the people who know that, the wise men. Kshetrajna iti Tam Prahuhu. They call him as Kshetrajna. They call him Kshetrajna. They call whom? Etadyo Vetti Tam. The one who knows this, He is called a Kshetrajna by the wise men. So that is the second line. So let us see the Bhashyam for it. So the shloka is simple, but Bhashyam we have to see closely. Idamiti sarvanamna uktam vishinashti. Uktam vishinashti shariramiti. Okay. He Kaunteya kshatatranat क्षयात क्षरणात क्षेत्रवद्वा अस्मिन् कर्मफल निर्वृत्तेः क्षेत्रमिति इति शब्दः एवं शब्दपदार्थकः ओके शरीरमिति इदमिति सर्वनाम्ना उक्तम् इदम इज ए सर्वनाम. Sarvanama means pronoun. What is a pronoun? Pronoun is something which can be applicable to anything. You can call this pen as this, you can call a book as this, you can call that stone as this, you can call a tree as this. Anything which is seen is that this. It is something which is an objectifiable thing. So that is what is this. This particular thing which is told in this pronoun, idam is a pronoun, isn't it? This, by that, that is being explained. Vishinashti means that he is explaining. He explains, he elaborates. Then what is that? Kshata tranat. Kshata means something, some hurt. From hurt, something, this is something which is kshata tranat. There is a small explanation given by one commentator, Ramaraya Kavi, Kshata Trayate iti. Okay, Kshata Tranat. That is, in what manner is this body-mind complex injured or hurt? That is because of ignorance. Then, because of ignorance, we do some bad deeds. And then because of these bad deeds, a person goes to hell or he suffers some other bad consequences. So from all those things, it is a tool to protect somebody. So it is a tool to go down, it is a tool to go up also. So Shariram also, this whole body-mind complex is something which is there either to go down or to go up. So that commentator writes, Jnanotpadana dvara narakadi lakshanat kshatat trayate. So he says, so it enables you to achieve jnana. It enables you to realize yourself. And then from that, narakadi lakshanat kshatat, from the great damage. Kshata means damage, hurt, great damage called naraka. It trayate, it protects. So that is why it is called kshetram. Kshata tranat. So that is number one. Kshata tranat, that is one explanation. Then kshayat trayate. Kshayat means kshayat kshetram. That is because it declines, it goes on disintegrating, it goes on perishing. So it is the nature, it is of perishing nature. So that is why it is called kshetram. Then shayat, ksharanat, ksharanam. Ksharana is another root. So this he is giving various derivations for this word kshetram. So ksharanat. Ksharanam means something which leaks down. Ksharana literally means something which leaks down, something which disintegrates, something which becomes weak, feeble. So that is the meaning. So something which disintegrates. Then kshetravadva asmin karmaphala nirvuruttehe kshetramiti. So metaphorically speaking, kshetravat. So like a field, asmin means asmin dehe or asmin sharire, in this body, karmaphala nirvurutti. Nirvurutti means you are harvesting almost. Nirvurutti does not mean harvest. For the whole word I am telling. Karmaphala nirvurutti. Nirvrutti is the whole karma phala, it materializes here. The karma phala, it takes shape here. Nirvrutti. Karma phala takes shape here. Karma phala materializes here. Karma phala is harvested here. So for that reason, it is metaphorically called kshetram. Is it okay? Metaphorical karma kshetravat asmin, in this body, karma phalasya nirvrutte. Nirvrutti means actually nirvartanam. You know the word nirvartanam. Something which is materializing. So karma phala materializes here. Karma phala takes shape here. Karma phala is harvested here. Harvest again is something metaphorical which I use. So for this karma phala, it can be sukha, dukkha, all these things, roga, arogya, it can be any type of karma phala. All these things is, it materializes here. Then, iti shabdaha evam padartha, shabda padarthaka. Iti means evam, in this manner it is told. Iti means ityevam uchyate, ityevam abhidhiyate. The meaning of iti is ityevam, that is, in this manner it is told, it is called, it is designated. Then, kshetram ityevam abhidhiyate kathyate. Kathyate. Your book has something else or what? Abhidhiyate?
Kshetram ityevam kathyate.
Okay, abhidhiyate kathyate. So, kshetram ityevam, iti means evam, in this manner it is told, it is named like that. Then, etat shariram, kshetram yo vetti vijanati,
kshetram yo vetti vijanati,
apadatalamastакam jnanena vishayikaroti,
आपादतलमस्तकं ज्ञानेन विषयीकरोति
स्वाभाविकेन औपदेशिकेन वा वेदनेन विषयीकरोति विभागशः तं वेदितारं प्राहुः कथयन्ति क्षेत्रज्ञ इति. Okay, this particular body, etat shariram, this particular shariram. Shariram we have now understood, that is something which is of the nature of, which is of perishing nature. Then kshetram again, kshetram is something which enables you to do some good job, enables you to do some bad job, that is one derivation. And also it perishes, that is one derivation. Then again it disintegrates, that is another derivation. Then again it is something like a kshetram, where you can do some good deed and get a good result. So that is another derivation. So 4 derivations Shankaracharya has given. So like in that manner, yo vetti, somebody who understands. Then what is the meaning of understands? Vetti, vijanati, knows quite well. In what manner? Apadatalamastакam jnanena vishayikaroti. Jnanena vishayikaroti means it is an object for his jnanam. The whole body-mind complex becomes an object for this jnanam. So the body-mind complex, of course, it is very difficult to distinguish. As I said, jnanam is so closely mixed up with the body-mind complex that it sees itself as the karta, it sees itself as the body, it sees itself as the prana. Body means something like a vastu, an object. Prana is the energy, that is kriya. Then karta. So the jnanam sees itself as a vastu, it sees itself as a kriya, it sees itself as a karta. So that is the unfortunate predicament. So this jnana has to separate itself from this body-mind complex. So apadatalamastакam, not as though this is my leg, this is my hand, not this is my finger, not like that. So you have to distance yourself from this whole body at all, totally. Vishayikaroti, then swabhavikena aupadeshikena va vedanena, either naturally or aupadeshikena. Aupadeshika means upadesha, because of upadesha. Something belonging to upadesha, something depending on upadesha is aupadeshikam. Or by upadesha means something by proper shravana, manana, nididhyasana, proper adhyaya of the scriptures. Vishayikaroti. Then vibhagashaha. Vibhagashaha means by properly dividing, by properly distinguishing. Vibhaga we know. Vibhaga is to distinguish. Vibhagashaha is, what type of vibhaga is this? Atma, anatma, viveka. Viveka actually means, as I said, viveka, it is from the root vichir, pruthak bhave, something which separate, to distinguish chaff from the grain. So vibhagashaha. Then atma, anatma, vivekashaha. Tam veditaram prahuhu kathayanti. Prahuhu means kathayanti. People say kshetrajna iti. Then iti shabdaha. Vedana is knowledge. Vedana does not mean suffering. Vedana with dhatu. With dhatu means, with means to know. The same root from which the word Veda also comes. With Vedana. Vedana is knowledge, experience. So that is depending again on the context. Sometimes it can mean experience. With literally means knowledge. Vedanena, by knowing. Aupadeshikena va Vedanena. Vedana, not Telugu, we use it wrongly. Vedana means suffering, avedana, anguish. So it is not that. So somehow in Telugu, we use some of these Sanskrit roots in a totally different way. Somehow it has come into practice like that. क्षेत्रज्ञ इति शब्दः एवं शब्दपदार्थक एव पूर्ववत् क्षेत्रज्ञ इत्येवम् आहुः इति शब्दः एवं शब्दपदार्थकः. So we have seen this earlier, that is iti means evam. Time is over. Okay, this sentence we will finish off. एवं शब्दपदार्थकः एव पूर्ववत् क्षेत्रज्ञ इत्येवम् आहुः. So like as earlier, Kshetrajna ityevam ahuhu. This again, the second line also, etadyo veti tam prahu kshetrajna iti. So the first line also there is one iti, second line also the second line iti. The meaning for both is same. So that is what he says. Meaning that in both places is iti evam. Ani, in Telugu we say ani. Like this, in this manner it is called. So who called who say so? Tad vidaha. Tau kshetra kshetragnau ye vidanti tadvidaha. The people who know this kshetra and kshetrajna, they call these people, they call this gentleman as kshetrajna. The person who is able to distinguish Atma from Anatma is called kshetrajna by wise men. So that is what it is. Let us continue in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.